Hi, Phil Schoenberg, Fastpitch Power. Last week we talked about that one thing that a good pitcher can bring to the field that can instantly make her better. If your answer was a great catcher, you were right, then you watched what we did last week. What we talked about last week was how a really good catcher can persuade an umpire to see the ball where she wants the umpire to see the ball. Stealing a strike 2 inches off the inside corner, 2 inches off the outside corner with subtle movements and good body position. Today we're going to talk about how a really good catcher with knowledge of the game can look at a batter and read that batter's strengths and weaknesses without ever having seen that batter. So how is she going to do that? It's all about positioning of the batter and how the batter is built physically. And the first thing we're going to talk about is the physical makeup of a batter. So I'm about 5'10", and I'd make a pretty ugly girl, but if I was a 5'10" tall hitter, softball hitter, first thing my catcher is going to notice is my height, the length of my arms and legs. If I'm 5'10", I got long arms and legs, then my coverage of the outside corner is not going to be a problem for me generally. When I want to set up to the plate, if it's strictly a neutral setup, I'll put the bat down on the plate, so as much of the fat part of the bat is covering the plate as possible, and where the knob is where my feet would set up to be in a neutral position. Now I can pretty much cover the inside or the outside fairly consistently. But I'm going to have a preference. If I'm a tall batter with long arms and legs, I'm going to want to get really good extension through the zone in order to drive that ball with power. So the inside corner is going to be a vulnerability for me. And the next thing I'm going to look at as a catcher, after I look at how the batter is physically built, is where that batter is standing. So if you see me move really close to the plate like this, as a tall 5'10" hitter, then that probably is telling you that for whatever reason, I am daring you to throw that ball on the inside corner. The likely reason for a good hitter is that I am really good at pulling my hands in and turning on that ball and driving the ball to left field. So if I'm tall with long arms and legs and I'm close to the plate, I'm telling that catcher is going to look at me, and what I'm telling that catcher without really wanting to tell that catcher is that I'm daring that pitcher to throw the ball in the inside corner, that I can cover that. So that as a pitcher, I'm probably looking to throw drop curves, which is one of my favorite pitches, to a batter like that, so that I have to reach for the outside corner low, which I may not be tremendously comfortable doing. If I'm a tall batter, the more likely scenario is that I'm going to be moving away from the plate, because I don't want to be tied up inside here where I have to bring my hands in and I can't extend and power the ball forward. I want to be able to extend my arms, and I want to be able to accelerate through the hitting zone in order to drive that ball. So the likelihood here is I'm going to subtly move away from the plate as a batter who's 5'10" and has long arms and legs. And therefore, I have the inside corner of the plate that I can get to without having to bring my arms in or shorten my swing too much. Now I become vulnerable on the outside portion of the plate. And as a tall hitter, I am always going to be vulnerable to that ball that is right at the knees. A drop ball, a low outside fastball, a drop curve ball. I am going to be vulnerable to that. Now how about if I'm 5'2"? If I'm 5'2", generally speaking, the opposite is going to be the case. So as a catcher, I'm looking, how is that batter built? Is she short with short arms and legs? Well then, in a neutral position, her difficulty is going to be covering that outside corner, not the inside corner. So I can be here as a shorter batter and not be too concerned about inside because my arms are not that long. I'm shorter in the zone. and my extension is not going to be diminished that much by dealing with an inside pitch. So at that point, as a catcher, and I'm seeing the batter's position in and out from the plate, as close to the plate, then I know that that batter is trying to take away the outside corner from me and making that a pitch that if I throw the ball there, that's where the fat of the bat is going to be. So even though I think as a shorter batter with short arms and legs that I got that inside corner covered, as a catcher, I'm going to challenge that batter inside. I'm going to throw the ball under the hands on the inside corner of that plate and let that batter show me that she can get to that ball and drive it with any kind of power and consistency. When a catcher pays attention to what a hitter is built like, to where a hitter is standing in the batter's box, and right now we're just doing basically in and out. Next week we'll talk a little bit about up and back and what kind of tendencies that will indicate to a good catcher as to where that hitter is comfortable hitting the ball and where they're not. If the catcher pays attention to what the batter is built like and where the batter is standing, it can tell volumes about where that hitter wants to see the ball and where that hitter doesn't want to see the ball. The next week, again, we'll talk about up and back. As always, it's great talking to you. We love to hear your feedback. Let us know what you're thinking. Nice talking.